the sun behind me. Okay, I was going to do the next part of white trash that I had been looking at and thinking about today. I really have been kind of working on my artwork. World is going crazy. So I just run popping the pills like this other lady here and so many other people. I do artwork. And I take my walks, and so I'm not very productive, but I at least I mean in my activism work, but I keep my sanity. I have nobody to cook for. Anyway, my goodness. So as I say, I was just about to get online and do that, and there was an email that came in from Governor Cuomo's team. You know, I'm subscribed to that. And so I was listening to Rita Glavin's recent announcement, which, yes, she, you know, I just keep on, you know, this goes back to my blog on Aaron Eddy. I'll post that. Oh gosh, hold on. Otherwise I'll forget. And my message to Aaron Eddy there was, she's given this situation, your lawyer's doing a good job. This gets into two of the cases in my whole saga. And there's a certain hierarchy within the legal community, if you will, that you can't expect. For example, these were court-appointed lawyers in Spain, and it was two separate cases, and they were the only ones who did a good job and weren't trying to shut me up and work in the favor of the how do you say it, the opposition, which is a violation of my rights. However, they were not of the caliber to take it to the level where it needed to be taken. And you know, it's like with any workers and you know, a construction worker, you can't expect them to be doing the job of the architect, or I mean, if you understand my analogy. But they did do a good job, and they set up what I needed them to set up, and I will be ever grateful for them for that. In the case of Aaron Eddy, you know, she was doing a good job given the context and the situation. This was in the Arlington court under Judge Newman. So this gets into the Cuomo case. And also I just recently, because Prince Andrew case is going on at the same time, and there's a lot of parallels, and it's the same attack from the feminists. So I know I'm out on left field. I got no problem with that. Ask anybody who knows me. I'm always out on left field, and I got no problem with that whatsoever. Because I actually look at facts and evidence contrary to everybody around me who's too busy partying and grappling up the ladder of success and keeping up with the Joneses to see what's right underneath their noses. So, Glavin is doing a good job. However, I'm on a totally different plane with Rita Glavin, Cuomo's lawyer, as well as Andrew Brettler, who is, I'll post that one as well. Who is Prince Andrew's lawyer. I think it's Lovely and Singer. This is a LA law firm. So, you know, I mean, that's just starting. We'll see what happens with that one. But it's another just ridiculous attack from the Alpha-Dominance Feminists. I mean, why can't I get all of these human rights, domestic violence, women's rights feminists? It's all bullshit. To submit to the international courts, we get the jurisprudence. I was looking for the book. Everything's, you know, packed up in plastic. Well, all the bed bug problems in this place. So I don't know where that book is, but it was with Caroline Kennedy. And you know, the necessity for jurisprudence. And yes, this is the crux of the matter. I mean, one of my favorite things was Governor Cuomo, Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's father. The story about his mother, who, you know, her English was never very good. Even, I mean, I'm sure, you know, I forget how many years she had lived in the United States, but this reminds me of my ex-husband's Spanish maternal grandmother. She lived for 25 years in Morocco, but she didn't speak any French. And when I first met her, I was still, my French was still very rudimentary, and my Spanish was, even though I'm from Tucson, Arizona, you know, like basics. So anyway, we did have a communication problem at the beginning, but she was a wonderful one, a real lady, even if she was from Villaverde and not from La Moraleja. So, so she, you know, even after 25 years and even with grandchildren who didn't speak Spanish and only spoke French, because afterwards they went to Morocco because it was the Civil War. both of his grandfathers were on the losing side. One was an anarchist and the other was a communist, and had to flee. So long story short, both his paternal and maternal grandparents ended up in Morocco, in Casablanca, where my ex was born. Then they all pretty much moved to that part of the family, moved to France, whereas you had still, so the other part, some of them who were Franquistas in Spain. So this is a kind of parallel with my family, the Wilcox family, and even the Dickinson and Paul, because my grandmother, who's from Butler, Alabama as well, or at least that region, Wilcox County, was Dickinson and Paul, John Dickinson and John Paul Jones line of the family. So anyway, see, with my family, you got the Civil War stuff going on, as well as the same stuff that's going on north and south of Europe. Because I always told the Europeans, I said, oh, Lord, with the European Union, you guys are just looking at the same issues that have plagued the United States and its republic since it was formed. So stop falling down the dysfunctional road and learn from their mistakes, because they're not doing it. So anyway, I'll go back to Cuomo's case, and yes, in the context, his lawyer is doing a good job and I'll post the link to that. But for me, it's a much larger issue. It's how my big beef with Lavin, and this is going to be what I'll be submitting to the international courts under this, really comes under international conventions, penal codes, civil codes, constitutions. As I say, if I was dealing with the Spanish Constitution in this situation, oh Lord, I'd be having a field day. I could go to town like you can't believe. With the American Constitution and legal structure, and we don't have a unified penal code or civil code. It's so all over the frickin' map. I really haven't dug into it. I mean, you know, as I say with my case in Spain, don't even try and take me out of that jurisdiction, because I started looking at their constitution, because it's all integrated in international conventions. I was like, ooh, Lordy, Lordy, Lord, how am I going to have a field day with this thing? Oof. I need a whole slew and team of people with brains. I wouldn't necessarily have to be lawyers, but they have to understand the fundamentals of law. And bonjour, try and find that these days. Can't even find that within the legal community. And I have searched high and low. And I mean, internationally, to the tops of the tops. Baltasar Garzón, his critics are right. All he wants is to be up on a podium, just like all the rest, just like Mal Clooney, just like all the rest of them. One of the funniest things I think I ever heard George Clooney say. And I said, actually, this has to be an intelligent guy. He said that he, so obviously his family's Catholic, so maybe he can relate with my Catholic mother. But he had gone, and I've never gone to confession. My mother, thank God, we stopped going to church when I was young. So he he told the father in confessional that he was guilty of committing adultery, and he's like 9 years old. So obviously the priest is like, oh, I don't think this child knows what that means. And George Clooney said that he thought that it meant that adultery, obviously he'd heard the word, but that he thought it meant acting like an adult or thinking like an adult or something like that. So I was like, this is actually a child who listens to what's going on around him and is like, well, what does that mean? So anyway, it's like when I was a child, anytime ICU, intensive care unit, would call, because they would call all the time. I mean, the phone was ringing at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, you knew it was for dad. But, you know, during the day, you were always supposed to pick up the phone, and it was ICU. You had to find dad. If dad wasn't around, you know, find mom so that she could, you know, contact him. So he had a beeper. Oh, this whole thing with the smartphones being 24-hour connected, I'm like, ooh, I lived with that as a child. At least we had to go and look for a phone. I mean, but at least these were people who could die, so I can understand how it's important. But anyway, I didn't know what ICU stood for. I mean, from as long as I can remember, ICU's on the phone, ICU's on the phone. Went through the house. ICU's on the phone, Mom. And I was like, I see you. I had no idea what it meant. Of course, later on, I was like, oh gosh. I mean, but so anyway, oh gosh, that was one of the funniest things. Sorry, I just got totally blown away. As I say, I was gonna read this whole thing on white trash and had that whole, but I saw this and I just, you know, she's laying a good foundation. I hope people will look at what Glevin has to say, and that this is totally political. She's concentrating there, and I'm very, very glad about that. However, my issue here, and in terms of everything that I'm working on to go to the international courts under human rights violations, and violence against women is human rights violations, which I know most people out there are like, wait a second, lady, how could you possibly be defending Cuomo and Prince Andrew if you are working on sexual, because my arenas are much more than just sexual abuse against women, you know, that you are in that arena and you could actually be defending Cuomo and Prince Andrew, which are the two cases that I'm following at present. And go on war on domestic terrorism. I mean, there's the custody issues. Beth Schlesinger, she's British, that was in Vienna. There's the case, oh gosh, James Ryan's case, that's not a custody case. That's the one in Japan that started under intellectual property theft and the medical research arena. There, he's American, his wife is Japanese, so their children have both nationalities. And then judicial corruption and that really got into criminal. They even tried to kill him. They tried to kill his son. So any case that's been brought to me either by people or that comes up in the press that I see something, say something. And this is applicable to big wigs as all of the small fries. There's another case in Singapore that's horrible. One that involves Switzerland, another involves Puerto Rico. There was one with Mexico, but I mean, I never really got involved. I just sent a letter to the Mexican consulate, but never really got more involved in that one. But as I say, it's for me, it's a question of due process, whether it be penal courts or civil courts or international courts, because that's going on as well. And why I haven't been able to submit the cases that I have challenging Gonzalez-Linehan versus USA 2011, Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, lead counsel Carrie Bettinger Lopez, who was the advisor to Biden as vice president during the Obama administration. She's in bed with the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Oh, I saw an email that came in recently that I'm like, yeah, well, I'm glad I missed that live stream of their discussion on these issues that they're going to be presenting to, the White House under Biden. Okay, I won't go into that, but Carrie Bettinger Lopez in 2015 at the domestic violence, October 2015 domestic violence cocktail party that they do. And I was the only one who was pissed off, who was like, look, if I want something to eat and a glass of wine, I can buy it myself. I'm done with all your schmoozing and cruising and your committees. I've been on the committee to get to the press for the past 7 years of all of these different groups. And I am the committee, because when it comes time to do the real work, the paper pushing and going colonoscopy, on everybody who needs to be have a colonoscopy, nobody's to be found. Oh, an age-old problem and a global problem. I had it with Bogota Guy. As president of Bogota Guy, oh Lord, I keep on saying, yeah. I mean, people are always like, oh my God, how do you get so much done? Well, no, these days, all these crazes got around me. But like when I was in Bogota, organization. I ran a ship-shape house, ship-shape household, you know, and we had my husband with Banco Ganadero, which is Banco Bilbao Vizcaya. We had a bulletproof car, a bodyguard, and we had security issues. So anytime, we only had one car for the entire family, but anybody who had to go any place, and I can't even tell you about the traffic, had to be in our car and with the bodyguard. So I always had to coordinate that, and that was another. Well, no, the car's there with the kids. Not gonna get there. So that was another issue. But so went all through that. I'm deviating, excuse me, but I just got really pissed off about this. Oh, and then I just before getting, maybe I shouldn't have started this thing. There was a thing about Gabby is it Gabby Clifford? Oh, yeah, I follow so many cases I can't keep them straight. But the young girl who was obviously killed by her fiance, they're finding some remains that I'll have to look into. It might be him. I mean, just after looking at the video of when they were stopped, that was about a week ago. I saw that. I was like, oh my God. What I think happens is, she's one of these entitled, I don't know how else to say it, but Valley Girl types, and knows how to push his buttons, and he's got an anger management problem, obviously, and probably why his parents have gotten involved in covering that up, because that's going to cover, they don't want exposed the dysfunctional family dynamics in their house. So I think, it's once again, sweep it under the carpet, and it'll just go away, because we don't know how to deal with any kind of problems. And look at Twang and Campbell, Narcissism Epidemic, their book. It shows. I mean, this started in the 1980s, and none of these people, everybody I know is part of this. And why I'm not ever getting any support. They never know how to deal with any kind of problems before them, whether it be in business, their personal lives, with their children. Oh, they all love babies, but after they start moving and talking and can challenge them, oh, that they don't like. And why, you know, the United States is just gotten to back to the 1930s with the rise of the Fourth Reich, to the rise of, with the rise of the Third Reich back then. So it just it's so I guess I'm gonna have to switch gears, because as I say, I had really thought about reading that, but I hope people will look. I'll look at the stuff that I was looking at there, because it really is related. This stuff with the with the white trash. Because it really gets into the attacks by the feminists right now. As I say, I know I'm on left field. I know, even, I mean, this should be exposed in the court proceedings against Cuomo, or any kind of proceeding that is going on there, and this perspective should be included, but it's not, you know, and that's kind of what I'm my contention and my position in this case, and I am willing to take it, and I will take it, and I'll just, oh, you little ladies, you want to get on the bandwagon, get on the bandwagon, or you gentlemen, because this is with Brettler. So as I said, I'd gone for my walk. I thought everything that I was going to talk about with this, and then it totally sent me on, you know, being pissed off about what is being done against these two men. See, you know, when I get pissed off, I need to do my artwork or something like that. So it totally got me distracted from what I was gonna intended on talking about. But it really pissed me off, because these are political attacks. Therefore, anybody who is suppressing my voice on these issues, just like 2016, and my, you know, what is it, ousting, the not my ousting from working at the IMF, but the what is it, civil society organization, CSO rep. They have now, before, these people used to demonstrate in front of the IMF and World Bank. And so in order to appear that they're listening, they organize this whole stuff. So now they invite the people in, and you can attend the meetings. So after being illegally and wrongfully terminated for the second time from the IMF in my 7-year tenure there, that was the end of 2015. Adrienne Thappa's up a creek with that one. Charmony Curry, Gina Paoni, whole slew of people there up a creek, but of course, since there's no justice in the court, I can't get anywhere there. So after that, I attended the spring meetings. This is 2016 spring meetings. I was horrified. I was like, oh, okay, now I'm putting the dots together. Because this is, I had already, this is 2015, I had already been back in DC since 2009, going through all the family courts. Then and I'm on the international, I'm trying to get to the international courts under international conventions as well as constitutions, and then we go down to penal and civil codes. So again, I'm on a different plane than all of these people squabbling over parent alienation syndrome. And let me count the ways. I won't go into that. Human rights arena is the same bullshit. So, by 2015, I had thrown on my arm and going, okay, let's wait until the violence escalates, until you people start paying attention. But I had moved on, as you can see in my reports. This is financing for development. I did that in 2015 on financing for development, Midsummer Night's Dream. I mean, that's, I forget how many, I don't know, maybe 300 pages. Draft, it still needs a lot. Everything. I mean, I got a whole bunch of books. It needs to be put together and edited. I agree with that. But the information is out there. May not be the best editing job, or has a lot of editing problems, but I do what I can by myself. So I was horrified. I was like, okay. So that started me on the trajectory also, because that got me into the economic arena. And if I can blow anybody away on the human rights arena or the legal community, I can do so as well within even the big wigs of the big wigs within the economics community. I keep on calling people back to the fact that in 85, I was told to drop the international economics 101 course because even the econ majors failed it at least once. Now, it was the only thing that fit into my schedule. I was working mornings up on Capitol Hill, still for the senator. I'd started in 81. And I always, for me, it was, it looks good on my resume. But it was also, Patsy Geyer was the only rock of sanity I had in this whole frickin' town, our whole frickin' world, with the crazy bullshit that was going on with my mother and my family at the time. And I think it was a lot of that as well. And I mean, she taught me in the 5 years that I worked for her. She taught me how to run a ship-shape organization and the importance of organization, which, with the chaos that I always grew up with and lived in, I understood the vitality of that. Regardless of all the intelligence in the world that you could possess, and in fact how that can be so detrimental to brilliance. Sorry, that gets into my father, but It just really is a very, very dysfunctional paradigm that everybody wants to promote here. So sorry. As I say, this like was pissing the shit out of me. Sorry, I don't usually swear. I mean, I've contacted everybody that possibly can. If we don't clean up the courts and address these problems of due process and stop deviating the discussion to bullshit, absolute bullshit. And in this situation, it's a bunch of prima donna social climbing, bullshit artists who have infiltrated into government agencies. And I say everybody to look at my posting on workplace bullying and the IMF. I can promise you the same bullshit that they pulled with me there is the same bullshit artist who went after Cuomo. Now this has got to be exposed. These viperous little, mommy dearest Nancy Pants Reagan, role models, and all of my generation and their children are just following down that path. And these little viperous bitches are creating havoc. Now they've gotten to the level, political upper echelons and real hardball. I mean, this is one of the things that I keep on telling the feminists. You want to play hardball. You want to play Machiavellian games. Stakes are high. Stakes are really high. So, when I play hardball, you play hardball. But as you can see, my arms, as I keep on saying, I will vindicate founding father John Dickinson that the plume is mightier than the sword. Even though I think another in my family tree is John Paul Jones, and I think I got some DNA of him in there. Because I do love my and I read. I've always been an avid, voracious reader of anything and everything anybody would give to me. And I love to write. Analytical, not creative writing. Anyone wants to write a story about all the bullshit on a creative level, oh, I got a whole slew of things for you people. Analytical academic is more my forte, but it's all about a balance. It's No, I'm a person of action. Yeah, I always got a book stashed in my purse. So when you people want to squabble about where we're gonna have lunch or dinner or any other bullshit in this world, I just pull out my book and I say, okay, when you guys decide what you want to do and where you want to go, let me know. And in the meantime, I'm not gonna sit here twiddling my thumbs. That's usually when I do most of my reading. So as I say, I guess I'm a split between the two because yeah, no, my mother in 2007, she said, oh, you always would ask, is this an adventure? When I was growing up, I was like, yeah. But having my husband trying to kill me or throw me in a psychiatric ward or in prison was not exactly what I had in mind. Thank you very much. It's just one of the things. And you can look at my websites, you can look at my blogs. For 15 years, I've been concentrating on the issues, concentrating on the legal issues, concentrating on the political issues, the social issues, economic issues, addressing all of this from an academic level and not personal attacks against anybody in my political family, familia política, they say in Spanish, or my family in the United States. You know, this gets into the extended family. But we're looking at the edge of the abyss. So, you know, if anybody doesn't like what I have to say, I've been trying to redirect the conversation towards the issues for 15 years. And nobody wants to pay attention. Not at the micro level or the macro level. So, yeah, I'll end that today with that. And I just hope people will look at really what's going on in front of their noses. Because if not, it's going to end in a blood. And my two sons are out there.